Breaking right now on Morning News Now, Hurricane Idalia intensifying overnight into a Category 4 storm as it churns towards Florida's Gulf Coast. Already parts of Florida, like here in Key West, what you're seeing on your screen, are seeing some of the impacts of Idalia. Tens of thousands of people are without power across the state. The hurricane is expected to make landfall this morning, bringing life-threatening storm surges, heavy rain, and winds of up to 130 miles an hour. And we're already seeing flooding in coastal areas like this here in Tampa. Just minutes ago, Governor Ron DeSantis gave an update on the dangers ahead.
The hurricane will make landfall within the next 2 hours in and around Taylor County in the Big Bend region of Florida. The National Hurricane Center expects storm surge to reach up to 16 feet in some areas of the Big Bend region. That level of storm surge is life-threatening.
We're also seeing the wrath of Adalia in Cuba, where entire villages are underwater after the hurricane slammed the western part of that country. Good morning, and thank you for being with us on a busy news morning. I'm Savannah Sellers.
And I'm Joe Fryer. We have a team spread all across Florida as we track Hurricane Idalia ahead of landfall, which could happen in about an hour or so. We're going to start with NBC News correspondent Jay Gray. Jay, you are in Gainesville, which is a little bit inland right now. Still, what are you seeing there? How's that area preparing for this?
Yeah, Joe, Savannah, good morning. Just looked at the radar. We're in between outer bands, so we've seen this come through in waves so far. Heavy rain, the wind picks up a bit. We get a drop off like we're in now and then more. That's all going to change significantly over the next hour or so, as you talk about. When this storm starts to get a little closer to the shoreline, it's going to be constant wind and rain, especially in this area. We are a bit inland. We're on the east side, though, of this storm, the dirty side of the hurricane. So we'll see some of the most dramatic effects of this storm as it pushes through this area. I can tell you we've already had some standing water in low-lying areas here, and we've really not experienced much, if any at all, of the power of this monster hurricane that continues to intensify as it gets closer to the coast. Let's talk about the coastal areas. You're going to see a storm surge that could be unprecedented. The forecast calling for 12 to 16 feet. That's a wall of water more than a story high pushing into the area. The Hurricane Center also saying that the strike point could look more like a tornado than a hurricane after this hits. So that would level everything in its path as it moves again in and towards the Gainesville area where we are. The University of Florida is here, 50,000 students, a huge faculty. Obviously, that campus is locked down. They're watching things very closely there. You've got 5,500 National Guard troops that have been deployed already. They're in key positions and ready to move in once the storm clears. And then all the power crews, they're staged just outside of the strike zone, hundreds from around the country, and ready to move in. That could be a big issue in this area. A lot of trees in this part of Florida, so we do expect to see some of those snapped and pulled to the ground along with power lines. Right now, it's that moment before we see things really start to intensify. So everyone taking a breath in the Gainesville area, watching closely and waiting to see where this storm goes and how long it may linger.
Absolutely. So again, Jay, Gainesville, sort of inland, a little bit inland from that Dixie County coastal area. How are residents feeling about that fact? I mean, has anyone evacuated? Are they heading to shelters? Are they concerned about anything, given that they are more inland? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, no, I think there's some real concern here. I'm a bit surprised that through the early morning we saw some traffic. Now, if that's people trying to get out, they certainly waited a bit long, but we have seen people evacuate. Some have gone to shelters, others just going to stay with friends and family outside of the strike zone. And then for everyone else, and what we saw a lot of yesterday is people stocking up and preparing with the supplies they may need as this storm pushes through. Hopefully they prepared for not days, but perhaps weeks. That's in some areas what it's going to take to restore power and get in and start to clean up what this massive storm is expected to leave behind.
All right, Jay Gray reporting from Gainesville. Jay, thank you so much.
We are now joined by Clearwater, Florida City Manager Jennifer Poirier. Jennifer, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. So first of all, just give us a sense of what conditions are like where you are in Clearwater.
Hi, good morning. So we're experiencing some wind gusts and obviously some rain, but honestly, our conditions are good, especially for what's about to happen up north. We have some flooding that's occurring, but so far minimal damage has been reported.
And for our audience, they should know Clearwater, just a little bit west of Tampa, south of where the hurricane is expected to make landfall in a little bit. I know you became city manager earlier this year. Hurricanes are always on the minds of officials like you. Talk to us about how the city has been preparing for a hurricane like this in this, your first summer in this role.
Yeah, so our team has been great. We started preparing for this last week. Where we were monitoring the storm and starting to pull things off the beach to make sure that we didn't have anything that would be projectiles, and just making sure that our messaging was out there to encourage our residents to be prepared and pay attention to the storm.
Once Idalia does move through your area, what will be some of the top priorities on the ground?
So we already are prepared. We've got push teams that are out doing damage assessment, and we also have a rescue task force that's prepared to help any of those that did not evacuate. I know a majority of our residents on the beach did evacuate, so we're not anticipating a big need for that, but are prepared anyways. So we'll know more now that daybreak has taken place in terms of what all the damage is, but it'll be mostly related to flooding.
For you, what is your biggest concern right now? Is it the storm surge? Is it the winds? Is it the rain? Is it the threat of tornadoes, which we're seeing all the way throughout the coast in Florida there?
Ours is the storm surge.
The storm surge, absolutely. What exactly are you anticipating in terms of storm surge in your area?
So what they told us to be prepared for is about 4 to 6 feet. Our high tide is coming in still in between 11 and 12. So that's what we're bracing for. Is just I know that once the winds die down, people think that the storm has passed and it'll be safe to go outside, but that's not the case because we do still have that high tide.
Absolutely. Clearwater, Florida City Manager Jennifer Poirier, thank you so much for joining us, and we're thinking about you this morning. We'll check in.
Thank you.
Let's get to meteorologist Angie Lastman for the latest on Idalia's track.
Yeah, she's here in studio with us, of course. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Good morning, guys. We have a little bit of an update. Remember, when we start to see these storm systems nearing landfall, we'll get hourly updates. So we do have our latest advisory in that brought the strength of this down just a touch. So it is a Category 3. That does not change the impacts. We're still talking about the same kind of storm surge. We're still talking about the same winds, although it is a fairly compact system with hurricane force winds only extending out about 25 miles. So that's just a very small kind of compact, fast moving system, fairly small for this kind of strength that we've seen from it. But either way, still moving northeast at 18 miles per hour and 55 miles northwest of Cedar Key, Florida. We're talking landfall here within the next hour. The system looking a little kind of ragged here as we get through at least the next couple of hours. We're expecting it to maintain its strength. Here's what we're dealing with right now. You can see this is about where the eye is. It's expected to come on shore near Steinhatchee. That is where we'll likely see landfall again, maybe in the next 50, 60 minutes here. If we get a little closer, you can see some of the heaviest rain is right on that side of the eye wall. It's going to eventually work through parts of Perry. I know about 7,000 people live in that community. This is where they're going to see the most destructive winds. But again, it only extends out about 25 miles from the center of it. So if you're extending 175 miles per hour out, or 175 miles outward from the center, that's where we'll see tropical storm force winds. So be aware of that. We also have a tornado watch that's in effect until 3 p.m. It encompasses a lot of the state of Florida and extends into parts of Georgia. Remember that right front quadrant, or the right side of the system, is where we have that best chance to see some of those spin-ups. They're oftentimes rain wrapped before the sun comes up. They can be very difficult to see when it's dark outside as well. Checking in on some of these wind speeds so far, 48 miles per hour from Perry. Those are some gusts that we're seeing. 58 miles per hour in Brooksville. We've already seen some tornado warnings stretching down near Sarasota just to the east. As we look ahead to what happens from now through at least the next 24 hours, we're still going to be dealing with this system as we get into the early hours of tomorrow. Looks like it crosses the Florida-Georgia line as a Category 2 storm, still bringing heavy amounts of rain, storm surge potential, and some strong winds to parts of the southeast here as we get through the next 24 hours, basically, before it starts to move offshore. As far as the tropical warnings right now, we have added those hurricane warnings into parts of Georgia, so be aware of that. It does extend into South Carolina as well. Storm surge, 7 to 16 feet. You've heard us say it for days now. That's where we're expecting the highest. But when we look at exactly what we're going to be dealing with on the southeast coast too, don't let your guard down there. We've got 2 to 5 feet in places like Charleston. That's going to be really difficult for folks if they've stayed and not evacuated in those evacuation areas. Now, focusing on the Big Bend area where, of course, we're expecting the worst of the storm surge, looking at the tide times, you heard one of our guests just mention some of those low and high tides for parts of Clearwater. Low tide, thankfully, for Cedar Key is at 7:50 a.m. That doesn't mean that we're going to see, great conditions there. We've already got 5 feet of inundation happening right now, and that's only going to get worse as the morning progresses and as this system continues to work on shore. Because remember, even once we have landfall, we've still got that circulation that's going to wrap around and bring all of that wall of water well inland for folks in this area. I know we've said a lot of times that there's not a lot of people that live there, but there's communities that are in place there, low-lying area, guys, and on top of that, the really heavy rain that they'll have to deal with and the tornadoes. This is going to be something we'll watch all morning long, and of course, landfall happening here pretty soon.
The fact that it's died down to Category 3 now, does that suggest it's probably not going to strengthen anymore, or we don't know?
It likely won't strengthen anymore. Remember, the fuel from the really warm water of the Gulf of Mexico is kind of what helped it rapidly strengthen over 24 hours. So we're not looking at it strengthening, but I want to stress that even though it's now a Category 3 and eventually it will become a Category 2, the impacts really haven't changed for days and days. The National Hurricane Center did a great job at forecasting this, and we, as NBC and beyond, have really seen those impacts be fairly clear through the past 48 hours at least.
And a good reminder for people in the South that the story right now is Florida, but you still have to be on guard in places like South Carolina, as we're going to watch it over the next several hours. And as far south as Tampa,
still dealing with really bad conditions there.
Absolutely. All right, Angie, thank you so much. Well, let's now bring in Mandy Lemmerman. She's the Dixie County Battalion Chief and Public Information Officer. So Dixie County, sort of between Tallahassee and Tampa, for those of you who don't know, also west of Gainesville, which is where we kicked off this hour with Jay Gray. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So Dixie County, this whole Big Bend region, expected, of course, to be among the hardest hit areas. What are you most worried about? I mean, as we just heard from Angie, we're talking about storm surge, we're talking about those winds, potential tornadoes-like winds. What kind of impact are you expecting in your area?
Yeah, good morning, guys. It's definitely been a long night. About 5 o'clock this morning, we started seeing conditions really start to deteriorate. And we actually, about an hour ago, had to cease all operations with emergency services going into our coastal communities because we have surpassed sustained winds of 45 miles per hour and greater, which stops any fire trucks or ambulances from getting to the communities. We're still able to go inland right now with those vehicles. We actually have another house fire going on right now that our firefighters are on inland. But as the storm continues to move closer, we know we're not going to be able to continue inland, even responding to those emergency calls. We're still waiting for daybreak to get a little better idea of how bad the flooding is in the coastal communities. We do know it's already breached the seawalls and it's extended into the roadways. And we're definitely hoping we don't get that 15 to 16 foot of storm surge that they were expecting, but definitely is our highest priority right now. But the National Guard is right next door with approximately 200 of their guys ready with boots on the ground to respond as soon as it's safe for them with our crews to do initial pushes and get the reports into the coastal communities.
We know in coastal communities like yours, evacuation orders were issued. Do you have an idea of how many people did heed that warning? And then what's your message to those who did not heed the warning, decided to stay and hunker down?
We actually, being in a small rural community, a lot of people were in the past wanting to stay home and hunker down. But with this one, we had a great response with the mandatory evacuation of people. They took it serious. However, though, yesterday when the mandatory evacuation went out, our local sheriff's office, in collaboration with the Florida Highway Patrol, did go door to door in each community, and there was a handful in each community, and we've taken those addresses down, as well as how many's in a household decided not to evacuate. So we do have a rough estimate. However, it's just, we just don't know. We did after midnight start getting more of those into the general population shelter. They decided to come after it was already well into midnight. Yeah, I think 2 a.m. was the last check-in. So we're hoping some of them from the coastal communities decided they didn't want to stay anymore and come in, but we do expect to have some after the storm passes down there.
Yeah. Mandy, we, of course, cover hurricane season each year and watch out, especially for Florida, but Dixie County specifically. I mean, you guys really haven't seen a hurricane for some time. Last one back in 2016. What's it been like to kind of get ramped up for this? Any lessons that local authorities are taking from that or from kind of your neighboring communities or part of your state that, of course, is more used to dealing with these types of weather events?
Yeah, absolutely. We've never seen any storm surge like this before. That's very unprecedented. For Hermine, it was unprecedented for us to get the 6 foot that we did, and that was devastating to those low-lying areas. So in preparation for this, we knew this would be more than our small little community can handle. So we immediately last week started with pre-arrival preparations, with working hand in hand with the state. The Florida Forest Service has brought in extra dozers to help push roads. We have, like we mentioned earlier, the 200 guardsmen, which is right next door to us, staging with all of their equipment to help get into those coastal communities and do initial searches. We have rescue and strike teams on standby, and also as soon as the eye passes and it's safe to do so, we'll have air support come in. That way, if we need to get choppers in the air and get to the coastal communities, they'll be right across the street at our airport. So it's been great working with all of those agencies to make sure for us, that's a small, less known resource-wise, that we have the support outside, and it's on the standby, just waiting to go as soon as it's safe to do so.
There are so many threats that come with a powerful hurricane like this. What is your biggest worry right now?
Storm surge, obviously, but the fact that, as an emergency services in fire rescue, we always want to go out and help. And for us to have to cease operations and not be able to get out on the road and just kind of wait and triage calls from critical to less severe as they come in, and, not be able to physically get to people or, go mitigate whatever hazard it is. It's tough for us, but, also we realize it's our safety is first, but it's, just tough as an emergency responder to be able to have to, just stand by and kind of wait a waiting game. And this is our home. Our families live here and stuff. And it's hard to see the devastation that we know is going to be coming in the coastal communities, and we'll have to face that. But we know we'll be resilient, and we'll work great with our local leaders and the government at the state level to get back on track.
Absolutely. It's a great point about needing to just stand by as you stay safe as well. Mandy Lemmerman, Dixie County Battalion Chief and Public Information Officer. Thank you very much for your time this morning, and we will check in with you, especially as you begin to see what exactly the damage is.
We want to go to NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra. She is in Tampa and has been keeping an eye on the conditions there throughout the night. So we know that the hurricane is skirting past Tampa. Still, it's on the east side of the storm. Storm surge is a threat there. What are you seeing now? The good news, I guess, is that the surge came during low tide, right?
Yes, but I'm going to show you how that's still been a concern here and remains a concern. So we're in what's called the Zone A. This is mandatory evacuation, Joe. And if you look over here, this is a main thoroughfare through downtown Tampa. You'll see that car over there. This is an example of what happens when you try to drive through a mandatory evacuation zone. This person in this car had to be rescued earlier this morning. And so Tampa is particularly prone to storm surges and flooding. People who live here are aware of this. They've seen this before during heavy rain seasons. If you look over there, so further beyond those trees, that's Tampa General Hospital. This is the only level 1 trauma center in Tampa Bay. And the thing is, it's on an island. So we had a chance to see firsthand how they put up barriers. It's called aqua fence. It's supposed to protect them from upwards of 15 feet of storm surge. Now, this hospital is remaining operational during the hurricane, but it is only accessible through those bridges. We were actually on the other side next to the hospital. The water level started rising to a level that we had to get off the island because we were afraid that we were going to get stranded in the middle of nowhere on that island. So there's a lot of concern about what would happen if this keeps rising. But as you mentioned, we are not in the direct path of Idalia. We've known for some time now that Tampa Bay and this area was not going to take a direct hit. The winds have been around 40 miles per hour, nothing catastrophic there, but we are seeing flooded streets. If you look over at St. Petersburg, the Clearwater Peninsula surrounded by water, Gulf of Mexico on one side, Tampa Bay on the other side. We've seen flooding on Treasure Island, Clearwater streets, and then we know that the bridge that connects St. Petersburg and Clearwater to lower Tampa Bay, that is closed right now. There's another bridge that's closed because they're seeing those wind gusts. I know there was a couple of wind gusts that got around 50 miles per hour, just over. And so we're seeing the impacts here. But again, the main concern is over in the Zone A, those main low-lying areas. You know, we're not done yet when it comes to seeing the rain. And this is already what we're seeing, and the day is still early, Joe. So that is still something that authorities are keeping a close eye on, because already at least one rescue, we don't know how many others, but authorities have made it very clear that if it is not safe, it's going to be very difficult to rescue people. So they're asking people not to put themselves in harm's way so that they don't put first responders in harm's way. Joe?
Absolutely. Hey, Marissa, it's Savannah. So on that same point, you mentioned across the Tampa Bay from you, so just west of you, St. Petersburg, like you said, surrounded between the Bay and the Gulf of Mexico. You just mentioned not putting yourselves in harm's way. People there were ordered to evacuate. Do we know at this point how many people listened to that warning and what the concern is over there, especially given that you were spared this direct hit, though since it's surrounded by water? How are things going in St. Petersburg?
And that's a great question, actually. I don't have an exact number, but I can tell you anecdotally, because we have, at this point in the 2 days we've been here, we've been traveling all around. And I can tell you that we were on the beaches of around the St. Petersburg area. We were at Clearwater Beach just north. We saw a lot of people. I mean, by yesterday, the anecdote that I was giving, Savannah, was that the people who were afraid of the storm, the people who wanted to evacuate, were already largely gone by Monday. By yesterday, the people that were left were biking, they were walking their dogs, they were going for a jog, going for a run. They had very relaxed attitudes. I would say the only places, Savannah, that I saw were fully evacuated were the mobile home parks in those really low-lying areas. I would say those are the only places that I can tell you with assurance. Those seemed like they were largely completely evacuated because of how vulnerable they are. But that's only those that were right next to the water, Savannah. For the most part, it does seem like there's a good amount of people who felt very confident that they'd be able to weather the storm by getting to higher ground in Zone B or onwards.
You know, Marissa, this is something that Tampa is used to. They were threatened by a major hurricane a few years ago, narrowly averted disaster there.
Yeah.
Just overall, what is the mood in the area as you've been there on the ground over the last few days?
That's a great question, too. And I think it depends on where you live. I think that the people that are in the most vulnerable areas are going to be more prone to have that anxiety. I've had a chance to speak with a wide variety of people. In fact, I just spoke to someone who lives on that island. Apparently, there are some people who live on that island where that Tampa General Hospital is. And he was filled with anxiety because he's not sure if he's going to be able to get off that island. So I think it depends. If you're in an area where you think you might get stranded, I spoke to someone who works at Publix. She was not able to evacuate because she felt like she had to work. And so she lives in an apartment building. I was asking her, how are you feeling? And she said, well, I'm afraid I'm going to get stranded in my apartment building because it's in an area that's prone to flooding. So these are the types of situations. If you live in an area where you're more vulnerable to flooding, you're probably going to have more anxiety. I would say everyone onward was feeling totally fine. They weren't worried. I mean, we spoke to people in mobile home parks a couple of miles off the coast, and they were drinking beers on their front lawns, not concerned at all, no boarded windows. So totally different scenes from when we were right next to the beach. Even if there were people swimming in the water, we still saw some boarded windows because that's right next to the Gulf of Mexico. So, you know, it just depends on how close you are to the water, what direction your home is facing, and how low the water level is where you are, the sea level, if you will.
Marissa Parra, stay safe there for us in Tampa. We will check in with you throughout the morning. Thank you.
Forecasters are warning of a catastrophic storm surge and destructive winds. We want to go to NBC News national correspondent Gabe Gutierrez, who joins us now from Perry, Florida. That is very close to where we expect this hurricane to make landfall in about a half hour or so. Gabe, just set the scene for us. What are you seeing and experiencing right now?
Hi there, Joe. Good morning. So, yes, we're here in Perry, Florida. For those who aren't familiar, that's actually about 20 minutes inland. It's near Tallahassee, to the southeast of Tallahassee. Joe and Savannah, we've been hearing so much how this storm is going to bring catastrophic storm surge in many parts of Florida. But right now, we are seeing the heaviest winds we've seen so far. As my hat starts to blow off. You can see that the eye is expected to make landfall just in a short time, not far from here. And the major concern is the high wind speeds. We just lost power at the hotel we're staying at. Tens of thousands of people in Florida are now without power. And the local authorities say that once the winds reach 45 miles an hour, and I don't have a gauge in front of me, it looks like we're getting to that point, if not past it already. The local sheriff's office says they're not going to be able to help anyone here. It's too late to evacuate. People have to hunker down at this point. Now, yesterday, local emergency management officials made a decision to close the emergency shelter here in Taylor County, and they actually bused residents to another shelter in a nearby county. Again, the concern in the Big Bend region that they've never had a hurricane this powerful hit this region in terms of wind speed. Huge concern about storm surge in other places. I was in Cedar Key yesterday, and we're seeing reports from there. Major storm surge there. Here, though, in the coming hours, we expect the wind to really pick up as it has for the last hour or so, and we're expecting conditions to deteriorate. Again, more and more people are losing power. The wind and the rain are picking up here as Idalia starts to make landfall just in the next few minutes. Joe and Savannah.
Yeah, Gabe, I mean, without a doubt, this is the most dramatic that we've seen conditions so far this morning where you are right now speaking with you. It is that Big Bend region, as you mentioned, which is where we expected high impact. But as you mentioned, you're 20 minutes inland. Do we know anything about what's happening due west of you in a coastal region with winds as strong as they are?
Well, so Savannah, if there's a little bit of good news in this storm, and again, any hurricane this powerful, not a lot of good news, but the fact that this hurricane is hitting this part of the Big Bend region that is not heavily populated, it's hitting wetlands in this region. So most of those coastal communities are very small. This is a town of about 7,000 people. And we often hear about the high wind speeds in terms of these hurricanes. That is a huge concern, don't get me wrong. And we do expect there to be potentially significant property damage here in this region. But while that is property damage, most of the deaths that happen in these types of major hurricanes happen because of storm surge. And here in this particular area, we don't expect storm surge because we're 20 miles inland. Not the case, though, in other parts of the Big Bend. Again, Cedar Key, which is seeing that major storm surge. And local authorities there, the mayor gave this last-minute warning late yesterday. About 100 people in that series of islands had decided to stay and ride out the storm. And the mayor in Cedar Key was saying, you need to get out. Same as the local authorities here said, you needed to get out. Not everyone heeded the warnings. And again, over the next 3 hours, we're expecting a test of Mother Nature. Heavy, very powerful winds are expected to hit this area, and you just saw it in the last few minutes. We're getting hit by these squalls, these more intense wind gusts, and we only expect that to get worse in the next hour or two. Joe and Savannah.
And Gabe, specifically where you are in Perry, it may not be a huge concern when it comes to storm surge, but you have the strong winds, you have the rain, and tornadoes are a huge threat up and down the coast right now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Listen, at last check, there were at least 3 tornado warnings really throughout the state. I'll leave it to Bill Cairns and the other meteorologists to give the latest update on that. But yeah, in any type of hurricane like this, there could be isolated tornadoes that really pop up. Now, just to give you an idea of the conditions we're taking, the preparations we're taking to stay safe, this hotel, again, we just lost power. Hold on, and here we're getting a really strong wind gust. So our team is right next to a concrete wall, and if things get too dangerous here, we can go right inside. There's other members of the media here. There's some local residents here who evacuated their homes but decided to ride it out in this hotel. And you can see right there, Joe, I'm going to move inside a little bit. We just saw this billboard ripping off right here. Wow. My cameraman, Paul Rigney, can get over there. I'm going to step out of frame right here. We're already starting to see that damage. This billboard is about to come down. We're right now under an awning here. We're covered. And, you know, if this thing does go start flying, we can get inside really easily. But you're looking at that live picture right now. You can see how powerful this storm is. The wind's really picking up here and starting to take down some property Power lines are nearby. We're at a safe distance. We're watching that very closely as Idalia comes on shore. This is the winds we expect to pick up over the next hour or so. Joe and Savannah.
All right, Gabe and his team, veterans of covering hurricanes. We know they are doing their best to stay safe, while also showing us some of these amazing pictures as Adalia makes its way toward land, not too far from Perry, Florida, where Gabe is right now. Gabe, thanks so much. We'll check back with you in a little bit. We're going to continue our coverage of Hurricane Idalia with this moment from a press conference earlier this morning, about an hour ago, with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
And it's going to be very, very dangerous. And there we go with our power here. We're back.
Not even the governor immune from power outages. Right now, Florida, about 116,000 customers without power. That's up from 88,000 at the top of the hour, and we know those numbers are just going to continue to increase as this storm makes its way through Florida and beyond.
That's right. As we had just heard from our colleague Gabe Gutierrez, just losing power, as you saw how strong those winds were where he is. We're going to now bring in storm chaser Ben McMillian. He is in Madison, Florida. That's just north of where Gabe is, slightly more inland. Hi, Ben. Good morning. So tell us, what are you seeing out there right now? How bad are the conditions?
Yeah, good morning, guys. We're between Tallahassee and Ainsville. You can see those winds starting to rapidly pick up. We're the small town of Madison. I'll show you what the lake is doing here in downtown. You're starting to see that rain fly across the screen from left to right. And those winds, those sustained winds, which generally just rotate around that storm in an ongoing fashion, are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. What we're expecting out here is an unprecedented wind of, according to the National Weather Service in Tallahassee, they have never seen in modern day record keeping this strong of a storm. A Category 4 storm in the process of making landfall, 130 miles an hour of wind speed. So that's going to create even more of those power outages. We've already seen water rescues further south across the western coast. It's getting very busy out here as Adalia moves into the region.
Ben, we have seen so many hurricanes in Florida and beyond, excuse me, over the last several years. You've chased many of them. How does this one compare so far with others that we've seen in the last few years?
You know, we've seen tropical storms where we had trouble even standing in. So as you can imagine, as this wind field moves in, we're going to have to take shelter ourselves. Generally, we feel pretty comfortable being out in the elements, but not today. Even the pros are going to be going to a place of shelter. I believe your reporter in the last segment actually was starting to do that live on TV. So this is not something you want to be out in. We're in a safe place right now, away from that eye. But as that center, that peak wind area moves into the Florida Panhandle here, we will be doing that and going to a place of safety as well.
Yeah, so explain to our viewers also, I mean, we introduced you as a storm chaser, what this means for you, how and why you're out in conditions like this, how you're going to plan to stay safe, especially as you're near areas where residents were asked to evacuate.
Generally, you know, we're the eyes and ears of the National Weather Service. We provide information in a real-time fashion to let them know what's happening. You know, having a trained eye, having the ability to interpret radar, surface analysis, wind speeds, and actually see kind of how the storm is growing and breathing allows us to put ourselves in safe positions to kind of bring you the best information live. Well, the general public does not have to risk their own safety.
And for those who did not heed the warnings to evacuate, the advice right now from the governor, from officials, is now is the time to hunker down. I'm sure you have seen people do all sorts of things they're not supposed to do during hurricanes or even in the immediate aftermath of a hurricane. What is your number one tip to people who are bracing for this storm right now?
You know, just listen. It's pretty simple. When storms get this strong, just follow the recommendation of local officials. When they switch from that voluntary evacuation, which is more of a gentle pushing, to, hey, you might want to go somewhere, to that mandatory, that means there's an imminent threat to your safety, especially in the low-lying areas, the zone A's in many of the counties in Florida. That means it's going to happen. It's in the process of happening. This is no longer an if, this is a when type of situation.
All right, Ben McMillian, a storm chaser. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you. As we actually now know, the northern eye wall of this storm has come ashore, which means then soon after that is technical landfall.
Yeah, we expect to see that perhaps in 20 to 30 minutes or so. Let's bring in meteorologist Angie Lassman.
Yeah, hi, Angie's back on set with us. Tell us what the latest is.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, we're waiting for actually the center of the eye to cross onto land. That's when we get that official landfall, likely any minute now. Honestly, the eye looks a little ragged. It doesn't look great right now, but still, of course, course, coming in at 125-mile-per-hour winds, Category 3, the same deal as the top of the hour. Let's look a little closer because I want to show you this area right here where you see these really bright reds. That's the northern eye wall. That is the worst place for the most destructive winds. We have heavy rain in that area. And unfortunately for our friends in Perry, they're going to go through this here momentarily. I'd say in the next couple of minutes, if you are watching from that region, then you're going to want to hunker down for sure and make sure that you are in your safe place because that is destructive winds. The good thing is those destructive winds, they're not extending very far out. So if you are maybe 20, 40, 60 miles away from where the center comes on shore and where that northern eye wall moves through, you're probably talking about tropical storm conditions. So you can see places like Lake City, 53-mile-per-hour, Cedar Key coming in at 72 miles per hour. This still means widespread power outages. We know that the canopy in a lot of this area is fairly dense. We know that this area hasn't gone through such a strong storm as what we're seeing right now. So likely lots of downed trees, especially as the sun comes up. I have a feeling a lot of people will be noting that. We've also got some of these feeder bands starting to work their way in. And because of the circulation around that, tornadoes are likely. This is what we're going to be closely watching even into the late afternoon hours with that tornado watch lasting at least until 3 p.m. The circulation already popping up some of those tornado warnings across parts of Florida from basically east of Tampa and points south of that. We still have that tornado watch that's going to stay in effect. And some of these wind gusts, 64 miles per hour out of Perry, Lake City at 35 miles per hour, Williston out of at 35 miles per hour as well. This is what we're going to see in places like Tampa be fairly an issue. We've already seen the surge. If we can take a look at some of the video that we have, this is 275. So if you're heading from the beaches back into Tampa, this is how you get to the airport. You can see on the right side there is water. On the left side there is water. Normally this bridge, it's fairly long, but it is, of course, covered with the bay over splashing and flooding it. So that is closed. Obviously, you don't see any cars driving on it, but look how rough that water is. This is what we're seeing all across Tampa. And of course, this is far away from the center. This is why we recommend, of course, folks staying in their location, in their safe place here, because we're going to see a lot of this, not just near the center of the storm, but well to the south. Right now, here's the storm surge that we're looking at from Cedar Key, 5.9 feet. This is expected to come up. We're talking about low tide in this area. So this is 5.9 feet of inundation. This is from ground level up, so 6 feet. Think about somebody that you know that is 6 feet tall, and that is what we're talking about, water levels in that area. If you look across social media, we've seen incredible videos of homes flooded from some media and some folks that have chosen to ride out the storm in that area. Old Port Tampa right now 4 feet. If you have a structure in Tampa, say that's maybe at 6 feet, I think you're okay. The barrier islands, unfortunately, places like Madeira Beach, Treasure Island, Reddington Beach, all of those locations along Gulf Boulevard in that area, likely dealing with flooding, especially the most low-lying areas. And then, of course, we're going to see this number rise in places like Cedar Key, just off to the east, where the center of that storm comes on shore. Addition, I told you about the tornado risk. This is going to be well into parts of Georgia, in North and South Carolina here through the day today. Just be sure that you're not letting your guard down. Even if you see kind of a break in rain, Savannah and Joe, this is not the time to go outside. We'll see that, of course, tornado risk stay with us. And that's, again, one of the most dangerous parts when you see folks that are well away from the center. They think that the threat is over. Right. It, of course, is not. And this will be something we deal with at least until tomorrow when the system finally moves offshore. But plenty of flooding, strong winds, and, of course, storm surge to deal with between now and then.
The fact that it could be a Category 2 when it gets into Georgia, how surprising is that?
Yeah, I mean, this system's kind of interesting because it's fairly small, but it's powerful, small and mighty. A lot of times when you see a Cat 3, a Cat 4, it's fairly large, it's expansive. Those winds, those hurricane force winds expand well out from the center, but it is small and it is mighty. Will it stay together as a Cat 2? The National Hurricane Center seems to think so. Fairly surprising. We'll wait and see exactly what happens. It doesn't look too unhealthy right now, but of course it has plenty of time to go over the land. That, of course, weakens the system. And we likely will still see those impacts remaining the same, Joe and Savannah, whether it's a Cat 1 or a Cat 2 or even a tropical storm down the line. Places like Charleston will see it become a tropical storm as it's moving over them, but the storm surge remains the same. Anywhere from 3 to 5 feet will be, damaging for areas along the coast in that region.
And so many reasons to keep your guard up, including the fact that much of the state is under a tornado watch. Until 3 p.m. today. Wow. All right. Angie Lassman, we will, of course, be with you throughout the morning. Thank you so much. Now let's head back to the ground in Florida. We're going to bring in NBC News senior national correspondent Jay Gray from Gainesville. That's a little bit inland. And NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra from Tampa. Both of you are here with us. But, Jay, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. I mean, this storm isn't forecast specifically to do too much in Gainesville. But tell us exactly what you're seeing at this point. What are you expecting once there is impact, especially since you are a little bit inland from the coast?
Yeah, we are inland, so the surge isn't going to be an issue here, obviously. And we continue to see just those outside bands moving through. So we'll get rain that picks up and wind, not real dramatic, but it'll pass, and then we'll get a bit of a break. That's going to intensify clearly. We're on the east side of the storm, or the dirty side, so we expect to see some hurricane-force winds as this storm makes its way inland and pushes through the state. We expect to see driving rain. And as Angie laid out so well, this is an area of the state that has a lot of trees, and so we expect to see those pulled down and power lines pulled down as well here. You've got the University of Florida, 50,000 students, a huge faculty as well. That campus obviously locked down. They're paying attention and watching this very closely. You've got 5,500 National Guard troops that have been deployed, and they're in key areas waiting to move into some of the hardest hit spots once things clear here as the wind picks up a bit. And then you've got all of the power crews from around the country that are staged just outside of the strike zone, and they'll rush in as soon as it's safe for them to do so. And they'll be greatly needed. The National Hurricane Center has said they still believe, even inland, that this is going to cause catastrophic damage, including a lot of power lines that are pulled down. And so for some of those who decided to ride out this storm and kind of stocked up and got ready, hopefully they prepared to perhaps be without power, not days, but weeks in places like Gainesville, because in some of the hardest hit areas, the idea is it's going to take quite some time to restore things.
Something important to keep in mind, this is not just a one-day event. It goes on and on. Marissa, let's bring you in here. Storm surge is the biggest worry right now. We're expecting a huge storm surge in the Big Bend area when this makes landfall any moment now. You are just south and east of that area in Tampa, and it's already offering a little bit of a clue as to what we could see with storm surge, right?
Exactly. I mean, this is Zone A. It's called Zone A for a reason. Mandatory evacuation. These are the low-lying areas that are most prone to flooding when we see high rainfall. So if you walk over here, you can see Tampa Bay is completely spilled over. This is Bayshore Boulevard. This is a well-known part of downtown Tampa. People use this to get around, and they were even last night, until you can see it's totally flooded out. There is a car right there that tried to get through here, and that's what happens when you try to drive through an evacuated zone and you try to drive through flooded areas, which authorities, by the way, stress over and over, please do not do so. We're told the person in that car had to be rescued. And so when we talk about the concerns, you know, we've seen the flooding around the area. We've seen it in the peninsula, St. Petersburg, Clearwater area. We've seen flooded streets, and we've also seen the bridges. We've seen at least 2 bridges closed. Skyway Bridge, for those of you who may be familiar, that one, it's a pretty high bridge, and so it's not the first time that it's had to be closed when they see wind gusts upwards of 50 miles per hour. Now, one thing I want to point out for those who don't know and didn't see us explain this the last time, you've got Tampa General Hospital right over there. That's that kind of yellowish looking building, and what you may not be able to tell is that's actually on an island. It's called Davis Islands. The only way to get there is by bridges. There's about 2 sets of bridges over there on either side. You get in and off the island. That is the only level 1 trauma center in Tampa Bay. And so you've got the most serious of injuries go over there. And so they have to put great protections in place. They have this thing called an aqua fence, and that is meant, this barrier is supposed to protect them from upwards of 15 feet of storm surge. But Joe, to your point here, that is the biggest threat to Tampa and the Tampa Bay area as a whole. It's not a direct hit. You can see the winds not so bad right now. Maybe 50 miles per hour is the strongest that we've really seen around here. But when it comes to the biggest threat to Tampa Bay area, it's the storm surge. It's also the tornado tornadoes, and that's about all of the west coast of Florida almost. That's about half the state right now under tornado risk because of those outer bands as they continue through Adalia as she makes her landfall here, Joe.
Absolutely, and there's actually going to be those tornado watches for much of the state until this afternoon. Marissa and Jay, thank you both. Stay with us. We have some breaking news right now, which means we're going to bring in Angie Lastman because this storm has officially made landfall. That means the eye of the hurricane has actually passed onto land. Angie is here with us to walk us through the track.
Yeah, so 7:45 is the official time of landfall, guys. Still Category 3 as it moved on shore. Right now, folks in Perry going through some really intense weather with very strong destructive winds working into that region and, of course, very heavy rain. Officially coming on shore in Keaton Beach. If we zoom way in, you can see it's just to the south and east of Perry right there. This is the region, or the area, the city, I should say, that it officially came on shore. This is low-lying area. For the record books, Keaton Beach is where this system will officially have made landfall. When we talk about some wind speeds, really impressive stuff. 127-mile-per-hour wind gusts are expected in Perry. That's that little part of the eye wall that I mentioned is oftentimes the most destructive, and that's what we're expecting, 127-mile-per-hour winds. Imagine going through that. Folks in Perry, if they stayed, that is what they're dealing with right now. Far away from the center, we're still dealing with low 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts as well. And you can see right now, this is the current gust that has come out, 64 miles per hour. I have a feeling in the next maybe 40 minutes or so, we'll get an update on that, and we'll start to see that number skyrocket as that eye wall works through. Hopefully the sensors remain. Of course, this is oftentimes a problem when it comes to these destructive storms working through. The way that we get that data is damaged because of just how strong those winds are. You can see we don't have any coming out of Cross City. We'll see what happened with that. But of course, still a Category 3 and remaining that way. We will get those updates continually here over the next hour, every hour, with this system working through. And Cedar Keys storm surge up to 5.9 feet. This is likely going to start to increase significantly. Remember, with the winds wrapping around that system, we'll start to get a really big rush of water. Of course, as we go closer to high tide time, which is later on in the day, we'll see what happens when we get those peak storm surges possible. That tornado risk is going to remain. It does spread north. I mentioned this a little while ago. Let's talk about the track because it does remain a Category 2 here as it gets into parts of Georgia, eventually weakening as it spends some time over land, but not decreasing on the impacts for folks in the southeast. Savannah, Charleston, up through Wilmington. Cape Hatteras here as we get into 9 a.m. Thursday. We'll still be dealing with some of the heavy rainfall from the system as it moves off to the Atlantic, and eventually it'll be out of the picture, and we'll of course have to look at what happens with you know all the communities that were impacted by this system here in the past day or so. Meanwhile, when we look at those damaging winds in parts of the southeast, pretty impressive too. Savannah, 76 miles per hour here as we get into the day today. Charleston, 71. Myrtle Beach, 51 miles per hour. So folks in those regions should likely have already finished their preparation. We're looking at that starting to work through the day today. So again, strong winds bringing down trees, power lines. The power outages are going to be something we'll have to watch for. Heavy rain as well with this system. It stretches from Florida all the way up into the Carolinas. Again, we could see maybe 5 to 8 inches in widespread areas, but up to a foot of rain is possible, especially in those areas closest to the core. So the flooding and flash flooding at that will be a big issue from Florida to the Carolinas here through the day today and even potentially into the early parts of tomorrow. No surprise, we've got the flood watch up. Raleigh, Wilmington, Tallahassee, down through Tampa, guys. Tampa dealing with, of course, that storm surge that we've been seeing all morning long and the flooding concerns there. The tornadoes are going to be a big issue. That's what we'll have to watch for. And, of course, the tropics continue to be active. Hurricane Idalia, just one spot that we're watching, of course.
Oh, absolutely. Luckily, those other ones are hopefully not going to be causing any damage to land, property, or people. Angie, thank you so much. We'll, of course, be with you throughout the morning. And now we're going to stay on this continuing coverage of Hurricane Idalia, of course.
Yeah, and we will be back with you at the top of the hour. Right now, we're going to take a moment to listen into live coverage from our affiliate WFLA in Tampa right now.
East through north central Florida, right through Dowling Park, Live Oak, White Springs, Jasper, Madison, and Perry, all going to get in on those really strong winds. And again, Lee, we keep talking about how strong it will stay as it moves farther inland because of the fast forward motion. It's moving at 18 miles per hour off to the northeast, so it's going to be able to hold on to those really strong winds as it moves inland. So yes, even if you live farther inland in Jasper, in White Springs, even into southern Georgia near Valdosta, we are talking about about, Lee, those strong winds continuing to be a possibility.
Yeah, and that because it's going to move still at 18 to 20 miles per hour. So it takes a long time to go from a Category 3 down to a tropical storm. And it's going to cross over I-10. Of course, Lake City, a lot of people know that as an exit off I-10 and I-75 there. So it's going to be right over that. Of course, there's Gainesville is going to be down to the south, and Tallahassee remains back to the west. So it really split the difference there. But a landfalling Category 3 hurricane at 7:45 here on August 30th. We'll be tracking, hearing from the folks in Perry. We'll be hearing from the people in Keaton Beach. It's going to be a really, really dangerous situation for those folks.
So you really feel for them because this is happening now. Who thought initially it was going to be Category 4? Right, and certainly that's what happened very quickly.
And of course, our Jeff Patterson is just south of where it made landfall. Going to take a live look in Cedar Key right now. The storm surge is significant. You guys, it's going to get worse, right?
It will, yeah. So we're going to continue to see that water piling on shore. Even though the center of the storm moving inland, that wind will continue to come on shore.
All right, take a quick break. We're back with more coverage in just a moment.
Okay. Top of the hour now. Let's get straight to the major story of the morning. Hurricane Idalia making landfall just moments ago, 15 minutes ago to be exact, in Keaton Beach, Florida. We have new pictures coming in this morning showing the sheer devastation across Florida's Gulf Coast. Here are the stats at this hour. Winds clocking in at well over 120 miles an hour, slowly trudging up that coastline at less than 20 miles an hour. We're also watching the possibility of historic and life-threatening storm surge all along Florida's panhandle, up to 16 feet predicted in some areas. Millions across the state now bracing for the worst, with more than 100,000 already without power. Governor Ron DeSantis experiencing Idalia's wrath firsthand earlier this morning.
And it's going to be very, very dangerous. And there we go with our power here. We're back.
Scene that's going to play out many times over the coming hours. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Let's get right to our team that is spread across Florida as we track Hurricane Idalia. We're going to start with NBC News Now anchor Tom Yamas. He is in Crystal River, Florida. Tom, good morning. So this is north of Tampa, southeast sort of Cedar Key, and east of where the storm made landfall. Obviously, it looks like waters are rising behind you. Tell us about the conditions in the area you're in.
Yeah, hey, Savannah and Joe, how are you? So first, people have to understand this is sort of a slow-moving disaster in the part where we are in Crystal River. You're right. The major concern is the water here. It's supposed to be low tide, but the water's already moving up. And that's because of the storm surge. So at 4 o'clock, that's the point when they're going to know if this area is going to be completely flooded or not. And that's going to happen over several hours, obviously. I was speaking with the mayor just before we came on. He says they have a sort of a complex buoy system, very sophisticated, out in the Gulf where they can monitor the tides, at least for this area, because it is low lying. And he's saying the numbers they're seeing right now are several feet above average. So that's worrying him because, again, this should be low tide, and already we're seeing some flooding. North of us, that's where most of the damage is right now. But again, people are still careful here. They are under evacuation orders. People, if they didn't evacuate, they should still stay inside, because at 30 to 35 miles per hour, the sheriff here in Citrus County told me that his officers aren't going to be out and about. We're not feeling that right now. Every now and then we'll get a gust like right now, but it picks up a little bit. But by and large, where we are, so far, it's not too bad. Again, it's going to be a slow-moving disaster here in Crystal River because of the water. That's what they're watching, and that's really the main concern because, you know, once that water comes through, there's nowhere for it to go, and you just have to wait. So they're waiting and they're watching the water here. There are power outages sporadically. We were under tornado watch earlier this morning. Those have since passed as the storm moves on. But, you know, it was interesting. People went to bed thinking this was a Category 3, something they had never seen before. They woke up, it was a Category 4 at one point this morning, just before making landfall. So it's come as a surprise to a lot of people. And as that track sort of shifts, you know, it wobbles right, wobbles left, different areas are experiencing a lot of damage. And, you know, to be fair, this thing moved a little further west and a little further north than a lot of people thought. So the areas south of Tallahassee are getting pounded right now. And I don't know if they were completely ready for that.
You know, this is still hitting an area that is not, say, as populated as a Tampa or farther south of that, Tom. But in general, folks there, they're used to hurricanes. They prepare for them all the time. What is the general mood from people in the area where you're at?
You know, I think because a major hurricane had never hit this Big Bend area, the nature coast, what they call it as well. You know, you have a lot of people who have second homes here. You have people who are retired here. This is an area where people come to swim with manatees. They come for the freshwater and the ocean flats fishing. So there's a lot of tourists here, but they had never seen a hurricane this size. So when I was talking to people, I could actually see it in their eyes. They were worried. Sometimes you talk to Floridians, and I'm a Floridian. I was born and raised in Miami. They're a little cavalier about storms, but here they seem to be really worried about this one. Since the track moved a little bit north of where we are, I think maybe more people stayed than they wanted to. I know that in Citrus County, the sheriff told me where we are, they were asking people to leave who just refused to leave, and there was nothing they could do at that point.
All right, and of course that becomes the concern if anybody does need rescuing who did not evacuate. They might have to wait that out. Tom Yamas, thank you very much. We'll check back in with you. Stay safe.
And Tom just mentioned Citrus County. We do want to bring in the Citrus County Fire Chief, Craig Stevens, for more as Florida is bracing and for this storm. Good morning. First of all, just tell us, what are you seeing right now? You guys are in some of the worst areas.
So obviously we're getting a lot of rain. Some of the bands are coming through. Some of the tropical force winds we've witnessed already. The wind bands are starting to pick up, and of course we are, we've got some low area flooding that's occurring. Some of our areas out towards the coast are starting to see water rising.
Yeah, so this is sort of, as you mentioned, coastal, seeing that water rising. You're between Tampa and Gainesville. This was an area that was ordered to evacuate earlier in the week. What have you seen from residents? Have people actually been heeding those warnings? Have they been evacuating? Are you concerned about any type of rescues that may need to take place, especially as day breaks?
Some of them, obviously, we have our hardcore people that are probably still there, and we'll go out there and we'll get them if we have to. But at this point, it's not as bad as we anticipated. So hopefully, it just depends on when that storm surge hits us.
Mm-hmm. Chief, you say you'll go out there and get them if you have to, but do you still need to wait for this storm to pass through? It's not something you can do instantly, right?
So it depends on the winds. If our winds exceed 45 miles an hour, then of course we pull our crews off the road and we wait for those sustained winds to start to die down. Once those sustained winds die down, then we can resume missions.
What's your biggest concern in the aftermath of this as you are able to kind of get out there and see what's happened?
Our safety for the citizens that are still there, the power lines that are down, trees that are down, and then, of course, the stagnant water that's going to be there for some time. So.
All right. Citrus County Fire Chief Craig Stevens, we're thinking of you and your community right now. Thanks so much for joining us this morning and giving us an update.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. We're thinking about your community. Now, of course, let's get the latest on where Idalia is after making landfall and where it is headed.
Meteorologist Angie Lastman is back with an update. We know it's at landfall. The question is, what happens now? Hey, Angie.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, the question is, are people prepared across parts of the southeast? Because that's where it's going from now through really the next 24 hours. Latest details coming in just at the top of the hour. Winds at 120 miles per hour. Not a lot of change with that. We likely will see those numbers come down here through the rest of the morning as it continues to interact with the land and starts to weaken. 10 miles south-southeast of Perry, Florida right now, and moving northeast at 18 miles per hour. It's going to cruise across parts of this area of the country and eventually move offshore here by the time we get into Friday. So we'll look for that. As for what we're dealing with right now, the worst of what we're seeing occurring in this moment is that northern eye wall that folks in Perry and Dowling Park and up through Madison are eventually going to start to deal with. We do have extreme wind warnings in effect for folks there with upwards of 120 mile per hour winds possible. We were forecasting 127 mile per hour winds in that area. So not going to be surprised if we see really bad destruction of exactly where this area works through. That part of the eye is always the most destructive in the northern eye wall. This is going to last until 10:15. So they've got a couple of hours to deal with extreme wind in this area that you see outlined in the pink. As that continues to trek a little farther to the north, it will, of course, be impacting more communities to the north. Jasper, Madison, heads up if you are someone that stayed and you are hunkering down in that area and you're still able to connect with us and get this information. Right now, the latest gusts coming out of Perry say 71 miles per hour. That number likely coming up here as we go through at least the next 40 minutes or so. Pretty good gusts of wind elsewhere, more tropical storm-like as we look out towards Lake City, 45 miles per hour, even up into Valdosta, already into the low 40s for those gusts. And as far south as Leesburg, Brooksville, and Tampa, still dealing with, again, those tropical storm-like conditions. We've also got the tornado watch in effect. So on top of the surge, the rain, and those strong winds, the potential for tornadoes is always there, especially in what we meteorologists call the right front quadrant of this storm. So if you divide it like this into four, with the forward motion, that right front area has the best chance of spinning up some tornadoes. A lot of times these are rain wrapped, which makes it very difficult for folks to see. If you're going through the storm in this area, you should be preparing like there is a tornado working through. But if you get a tornado watch or a warning in any of these other areas across the state of Florida and up into Georgia, you should be in the interior area of your house, away from the windows, because you may not know that it's coming with all of that rain wrapped around it. Of course, as the sun comes up, that makes it a little better for us, but still plenty of rain working through. Now, as we talk about the wind speeds right now, these are what we're expecting. I mentioned 127 miles per hour for Perry, Cedar Key, 72 miles per hour. We've already seen really incredible inundation happening in low tide for Cedar Key, 5.9 feet above ground. If you think about, say, a stop sign, that's about 7 feet. If you think about somebody that you know that is 6 feet tall, that is how much above ground level we're talking about water working in. A lot of homes that are in this area are likely flooded close to at least half of the first floor. When we get up to 12 feet, that's about the first floor of a home. Even down through Tampa, we saw plenty of flooding across Gulf Boulevard and in Port Tampa right now, 4.5 feet. If your structures are about 6 feet or higher, you're likely okay here by the time this is all said and done. But anything below that, you're probably going to come back to maybe some destruction when it comes to some flooding concerns. There's that tornado risk. It does extend all the way into parts of Charleston, Wilmington, Savannah. Heads up here as we get through the afternoon hours and even into tonight. These brief spin-up cleanups are possible here as this system continues its northeasterly movement. Those storm surge numbers have not changed. Historic storm surge likely across much of the Nature Coast. The Big Bend area is where we're really concerned, especially as we go later into the day and we start to see that high tide getting into the picture, guys. This is going to be a really big issue for folks there, but we've already seen, as I mentioned, some of the issues when it comes to Tampa, St. Petersburg, the Barrier Islands, as far south as Pinellas County. That's going to be something to watch too, because we showed you the images, right, from I-275 in Tampa, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder about that high tide, as we just saw with our friend Tom Yamas, who's in Crystal River. It might look sort of calm there, or like maybe things are getting better, but actually later in the day, as that tide changes, it's something to watch out for. Angie Lassman, thank you so much. We'll see you in a bit.
Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas, who joins us now from Gainesville, Florida, which, as we mentioned, is farther inland from where the storm made landfall. Still, they're going to deal with rain. They're going to deal with wind, the tornado threat Angie just mentioned. Guad, what's it like there right now?
Joe, we're about 75 miles east of where the storm made landfall here in Gainesville. We're right next to the University of Florida that canceled classes, of course, because of this storm. So we had rain all overnight, a lot of rain. Right now it's been a little lighter, but county authorities say that it's the wind that has been worrying them. Of course, we're under that tornado watch here. Just about an hour ago, they issued a tornado warning south of us in Marion County. We've had about a dozen tornado warnings the last time I checked in the last hour when the governor spoke and talked about these warnings, and of course a tornado watch that remains for a large part of central Florida. You can see some of the rain and some of the wind in the trees behind me. So authorities here are really warning residents about the possibility of downed trees and also power lines that could be damaged by these winds. They do have outages reported in this county as well as other parts of Florida. The last time I checked, the report was about 140,000 customers all across the state having interruptions in their power service. And of course, most of those outages are just west of us where the storm made landfall. But we also have some of those here further west. You can see how the wind gusts just pick up every minute or so. They'll come in. And this is what county authorities have warned residents about as we expect more of this wind and more of this rain to make its way through Gainesville. Joe.
Absolutely. Hey, Guad, it's Savannah. So, since you're more inland, things like storm surge, kind of less of a concern in that area. You mentioned power outages, though, being something to watch out for, as well as that tornado warning, which is something that much of the state is dealing with. What is it that you're hearing from residents who maybe are sort of used to some bad weather in the area, but, having the fact that they're inland, not necessarily waiting for that water or anything like that? What are people feeling? What are people thinking?
Well, Savannah, first of all, Gainesville is a city that about a fourth of the residents are college students. So the university played a big part preparing the college students for the storm. A lot of the residents are also curious. They came outside this morning in the area we're at to ask us if the storm was over, if the worst was over, because it can be tricky when you get these outer bands. You'll get a lot of rain, a lot of wind, and then it'll kind of die down and then more will come. So people want to know if the worst has passed. But county authorities are asking everyone to bunker down and wait for more rain and more wind to make its way through, because as we can see in the radar, the storm is still making its way through this part of Florida. So there's still dangers out there. And there are reports already within the county here of downed trees and, as I mentioned, damage to the power infrastructure that has caused some interruptions for some of the customers. So there are some dangers out there. So authorities want people to bunker down and wait for the rain and the wind to make its way through as we continue to be under this tornado watch.
All right, Guad, thank you so much. We want to go right to NBC News national correspondent Gabe Gutierrez, who is in the thick of things right now in Perry, Florida. He and his team are doing their best to stay safe while also bringing us these incredible pictures. Gabe, what can you tell us?
Hey there, Joe. Well, this is Hurricane Idalia. We are in the thick of it, and we are getting pounded by some heavy winds and heavy rain that we've only seen intensify over the last hour or so. Right behind me a few minutes ago, Joe, there was a billboard. There is no longer a billboard behind me. It was ripped apart and it collapsed. We're keeping a close eye on some nearby power lines. Don't worry, we're far enough away and my crew can go inside at any sign of trouble. But you can see these winds really picking up. There's nobody on the roads right now. Local authorities had said that once the winds reached 45 miles an hour, they wouldn't be able to respond to calls, that people were essentially on their own. We're well past that point. The winds here, wind gusts I'm told, are over 100 miles an hour. And we are really feeling the brunt of this storm. An unprecedented storm hitting the Big Bend area. They have never seen a storm this powerful in terms of wind surge. And Joe, the story in other parts of Florida has been storm surge, 10 to 15 feet expected. That's not the case in this particular town. It's a town of 7,000 people that's actually 20 miles inland. The story here is the wind, as you can clearly see. Unclear at this point what the damage will be, but local authorities expect that it will be extensive. In winds this high, essentially a tornado, mobile homes and structures that weren't built in the last few years will have a very difficult time staying up. Just to let you know where we are, we're in a hotel. It lost power now several hours ago. Several local residents who left their homes and are hunkering down here, as well as some members of the media, are also here. And we're trying to stay safe, and we'll go inside as soon as we can. But we can show you, Joe and Savannah, that the winds are only intensifying here, and we expect them to get only worse in the next few hours. Joe?
Absolutely. Hey, Gabe, it's Savannah. So you mentioned you're about 20 miles inland, and it's about a half-hour drive pretty much straight north of Keaton Beach, which is where this made landfall about a half hour ago now. As this storm's track has kind of wobbled, changed a little bit, both north and south, as we've been projecting it, how prepared was this area for this to be as bad as it currently is, as dramatic as these winds are?
Look, emergency management officials, including the governor, have been warning that this storm had the possibility to be extremely powerful over the last several days. People were warned. Not everyone heeded that warning, however. As we get another wind squall here, not everyone heeded those evacuation warnings. And at this point, that's unfortunate because it is very dangerous here in terms of the wind speed. Again, the most powerful hurricane in terms of wind speed to hit this area. If there is a small, and I say small bit of good news here, it's that the hurricane made landfall in a place that isn't as heavily populated as other parts of Florida. It hit the wetlands. Keaton Beach obviously will be heavily impacted, and they will have to deal with storm surge. Too early to tell exactly how this area is dealing with the damage. We should know that later today when people start to assess the damage. But I can tell you, not everybody evacuated. At this point, people are hunkered down. Unclear what the property damage will be. But these winds are powerful. Savannah and Joe.
Gabe, you have covered a number of hurricanes over the years. Right now, in this moment, just how does this one compare with what you've experienced in the past?
Look, hurricanes, they are unpredictable in a sense. The forecast models tell you one thing, but to be really standing here feeling the power of the storm is something else. I've covered many storms in Florida. The ones that immediately come to mind, Irma several years ago that hit in 2017. Hurricane Michael will always stick with me for how it wiped out Mexico Beach. I had never seen destruction like that before. In terms of this storm, too early to tell. I can tell you the winds they're up there. Not as much as, say Irma or Ian even, but it is getting up there. And again, these wind speeds more than 100 miles an hour right now. They will devastate any community. And my hope is that this, that the property damage isn't as extensive as some people fear it might be.
Yeah, Gabe, on that note, just a quick question before we let you go. You had mentioned we were with you as that billboard started to destruct that you now say is gone. Of course, the concern for something like a mobile home. Structurally, right now, how is something like that hotel that you're in and that residents are hunkering down in doing?
The hotel seems pretty good right now. It's a concrete building, 3 floors, and we can go inside immediately. If we needed to evacuate or if we, see any of these power lines or power poles or any other structural damage. From what I can see from my eyes right now, the billboard is the only thing that's really come down. The power lines are still intact, but again, tens of thousands of people across Florida are without power right now. Again, in these types of wind speeds, mobile homes can be destroyed. Well, we won't know the full extent of the damage, though, for the next few hours as the storm continues to make its way into other states, Georgia, South Carolina, bringing heavy rain along with it. We're getting a lot of rain right now, but the immediate concern over the next hour or two here in Perry is the wind. Joe and Savannah?
Gabe, we want to give you the opportunity to get inside that stable building for a moment to get some rest. We appreciate your reporting. You and your team, please continue to stay safe. We'll check in with you as much as we can throughout the morning. The National Hurricane Center, of course, has been tracking the latest on Idalia's path this morning.
And so has Angie Lastman here in studio with us. Angie, what is the latest on this track?
Let's talk about exactly where Gabe is right now. I find this very interesting. You can see just how bad the situation has unfolded for folks in that area where he is. You see this really bright pink and red, plenty of lightning associated with it. That's that northern eye wall that we were so concerned about. We said time and time again, that's the most destructive part of this eye wall with incredible winds. That's what Gabe is dealing with right now in the town of Perry. We've got an extreme wind warning that is in place here, and it's going to stay in place at least through 10:15. So we've got a couple hours still for folks that you see in this outlined pink area. This has just been extended. It now includes I-10 in this area across just short of Lake City. So this is going to last here through a couple more hours this morning as this part of that eye wall starts to work its way a little farther to the north and to the east. We're not expecting it to weaken incredibly fast. So folks that are in the path of that likely going to see major destruction from the winds. Again, it's fairly compact. We've been saying this all morning long that the system is small but mighty. Those hurricane force winds extending out just 25 miles from the center of it. But anyone in the path of that in those 25 miles is likely going to see destruction to structures as well as trees, of course, down power lines. Communication will be an issue, and we will continue to see exactly what unfolds in this region. It is fairly, it's not so populated, it's sparsely populated, but there's still communities like where Gabe is of about 7,000 people in Perry. So folks that are going through this that maybe may have not evacuated. Now, a bigger picture look, you can see how the system is moving. Right now, we've got 85-mile-per-hour winds out of Perry. It didn't really look like 85 miles per hour when I look at Gabe's live shot, to be honest. We're going to see that number likely increase here pretty quick. We'll see exactly what it ends up to. We were forecasting 127 miles per hour. Either way, folks in that area should be hunkered down because those are just some destructive winds. Across much of the region, more tropical storm force winds, 30s, 40s. Some of the higher numbers we see right now, Tallahassee, 40 for Valdosta, looking out towards Jacksonville even. You're pretty far away from the center of that system, but still up to 30 miles per hour. And we, of course, have that tornado watch. This is another thing that we're going to have to watch for through the afternoon hours, and which will likely get extended, especially the farther north we go through the rest of the afternoon and into the evening hours. Take a look at what we're expecting as far as those strongest gusts. Notice this brighter pink. That's where the eye continues to track to the north and east over the next 24 hours. So, yes, there's that forecasted number of Perry for 127 miles per hour. But as we get into the next 24 hours, we'll likely see that eye kind of hold together fairly good and bring some of the strongest winds that we'll see with this system across this area. So southeastern Georgia, a couple more spots across parts of northern Florida as it goes through the next hour or two. But again, heads up if you live in that area of Georgia. Cedar Key looking at peak wind gusts of 72 miles per hour. Look, Hernando Beach, 50 miles per hour. St. Pete Beach, low 50s as well. The tornadoes, another big issue. Orlando stretching all the way to Wilmington, Cape Hatteras. You're potentially going to be dealing with some of those spin-up tornadoes. They're brief, but they're not nothing. And especially for folks that maybe are getting some breaks from the rain, the farther south you go, places like Orlando, when it's just those kind of feeder bands working in, guys, it can be really deceiving, especially if we start to see things calming down and you think it's dry outside, Savannah and Joe, and then we have some of those feeder bands quickly working in, and we could have a spin-up or two. So the tornado watch does last until 3 p.m. for a big area of this region, Florida into Georgia, and potentially up into parts of the Carolinas.
So important for people to keep all that in mind. All right, Angie, thanks so much. Let's keep this conversation on the storm and the tracking of the storm going with the National Hurricane Center, which has been tracking the latest on Idalia's path all morning.
That's right. Michael Brennan is the director of the National Hurricane Center, and he joins us now. Hi, Michael. Thank you very much for your time this morning. So walk us through what we're seeing right now. We know about a little bit over 45 minutes ago, this storm actually making that landfall in Keaton Beach. What is the latest on the track at this point?
Yeah, we're seeing it continue to move steadily northeastward at about 20 miles per hour. We're seeing the eye wall move inland over places like Perry into Taylor, Dixie, Sewanee, Lafayette counties in Florida. Those are the areas that are seeing the worst wind conditions now. We're still seeing, very dangerous water levels, life-threatening storm surge along the Big Bend coast. We're actually coming out of low tide, so the water is going to continue to rise in places like Cedar Key up along the Dixie and Taylor County coastlines, and those high water levels are going to continue for several more hours. We're still seeing inundation 4 to 5 feet above ground level all the way down south into the Tampa Bay region. And these winds and the heavy rainfall is going to expand northward and eastward up into Georgia and bring impacts all the way into the Carolinas. Could see hurricane force winds in places like Savannah and Hilton Head, substantial storm surge that far north as well, in addition to the heavy rainfall a little farther inland.
So now that this storm has made landfall, is it behaving about how you would expect? I mean, what is happening with the winds, with the storm surge, with the rain?
Yeah, unfortunately, things have played out sort of as forecast, and we are expecting a fast northeastward motion from here on out. The peak winds are going to come down, but not that quickly, so we're still going to see substantial hurricane force wind threat across portions of North Florida, southern Georgia, all the way to the Georgia and South Carolina coastlines. Tropical storm force winds all the way up through the North Carolina coast as we go into tonight and tomorrow. There's also a storm surge risk in places like Savannah, Hilton Head, Charleston. We could see 3 to 5 feet of inundation above ground level there. And then the last thing I want to touch on is the flooding rainfall risk, especially to the left of the track of the center, places like Fayetteville, Columbia, South Carolina, Augusta, all the way back to Tallahassee. We could see 4 to 8 inches of rainfall here, isolated totals as high as 12 inches. And rainfall flooding has actually been the biggest killer in tropical storms and hurricanes in this country in the last 10 years. So we don't want to underplay that threat here in the next day or two.
Yeah, and Michael, could you put in context for us the storm surge? A lot of our maps here at NBC News have been showing 12 to 15 feet. We heard the governor reference that earlier. What is that like, especially for this part of Florida? Have they seen anything like that before?
Not really. This is an unprecedented event, at least in modern history in this part of Florida, and nobody living there has ever seen storm surge inundation quite like this. I mean, you think I'm 6 feet tall, so we're talking about water that's like 6 to 10 feet above my head. Wow. And wherever that peak surge occurred. So this is why we use that word catastrophic, and we were so urgently pleading with people to get out of that storm surge evacuation area if they've been asked to leave, because it's not a survivable situation there.
All right. Michael Brennan, the director of the National Hurricane Center, of course, a busy man this morning. We appreciate your time very much. We will check in. Thank you.
Let's head back to Tampa and NBC News correspondent Marissa Parr. That is, of course, farther south from where the hurricane has made landfall. Marissa, what are you seeing there, especially when it does come to the storm surge?
Hey, Joe. Yeah, well, you can see evidence of the storm surge all around me. This park right now, there's only a small part of it that is above water. You walk around here, you wouldn't even know that this is a main thoroughfare that people are used to driving through. People who know Tampa know this is Bayshore Boulevard. Right now, Tampa Bay has taken over Bayshore Boulevard entirely. And what you're going to see as we pan the camera over here is what happens when someone tries to drive through Zone A, mandatory evacuation area. Oh, and there's somebody walking over there in what looks like waist deep water. So we have a lot of people that are exploring. I don't know if our camera guy can pan over, if you can see it. We can't see through the trees, but that's a first. I haven't seen someone actually trying to walk through the water until right now. It's unfortunately you can't see it, but look at that car. Someone was inside of that car, needed to be rescued from that car. And listen, this isn't the only rescue that we've heard of, and this isn't the only flooding. I mean, we're just talking about Tampa Bay specifically right now, Joe, but we've got a peninsula over to the west of us. We've got Clearwater, St. Petersburg. If you look even online on Twitter, there's all kinds of videos of the flooding that they're seeing in the St. Petersburg area, whether it's Clearwater Beach, Treasure Island. We're saying St. Pete's Beach, lots of flooded roads. Of course, again, more or less what you're seeing behind me here. And here's the thing, while I've been here, we've been here for maybe a couple of hours now. We know that this water level is going to rise. We're expecting that it's going to hit its peak sometime in the afternoon, a few hours from now. I've already seen the water level rise on that truck over there. We've seen it start to get higher and higher. So, we're talking about, we're expecting more of those bands coming our way, which will bring more rain. Again, the tide has an impact. And guys, the other concern here is we've been talking about, people that are further down the coast that may think that they're out of harm's way when it comes to the storm surge because they're not right along here in Zone A. The other concern here is when those bands come through, there is a heightened risk for tornadoes. So if you look at the tornado risk map, it's basically half of the state. It's like the whole west coast of it. So anyone who thinks that we're out of the woods because we're seeing we're seeing a break from the rain, seeing a break from severe wind right now, there's still time for risky weather to be happening, guys.
Yeah, and Marissa, on that note, also just when you look at a map of Florida, you are significantly south of where the actual landfall was made, where the eye of the storm was up north in Keaton Beach. And then, as you mentioned, you add on top of that, it's not raining anymore, at least not right now in this moment. How seriously are people taking this? Especially, that's quite an image. It's essentially the Tampa Bay just completely inundating right over that wall as if it doesn't even exist. Are people taking this seriously, especially knowing it might get worse throughout the day?
It's a great question. So from my observations, the people who were the most afraid of this storm, they, for the most part, seem to have cleared out by Monday. On Monday, it was 50-50. When I was going to people in the grocery stores, I was going to people who were picking up sandbags. It was 50-50 in terms of people I found who were taking it very seriously. They said, we're prepping our home before we get out and find a safe place to weather the storm from that's not here in the Tampa Bay area. But I would say since Monday, whether it was yesterday, whether it's today, the majority of people I find here seem to be relaxed until they have a reason not to be. Case in point, you've got this truck. I'm sure that they thought they could do it. There's a reason why it's stuck. They thought that they could pass through here, and I'm sure that relaxed nature quickly turned to anxiety when they had to find a way out of their truck to get to safety. They had to be rescued. That's kind of what we're seeing. I think that tends to be the trend here, is that people who are relaxed and unbothered tend to change their minds once they need rescuing. And we know that there was at least one rescue from a mobile home park that St. Pete's Fire and Rescue had to tend to. And those are just the confirmed cases. We've heard of others that are unconfirmed online. So that's another thing to point out here, is when they say mandatory evacuations, they're not really enforcing that. I just told you about, I saw a guy walking waist deep in water. I know that that's not what authorities want, but they're not necessarily enforcing that. But the problem is when people are in need of rescuing, especially when the wind gusts do pick up, and especially when we are seeing that storm surge, authorities are saying you're putting them at risk too, the rescue crews who have to go out into dangerous weather to rescue people who shouldn't have been out to begin with.
Absolutely. All right, Marissa Parra, stay safe, especially as those waters rise. We will talk to you in just a little bit. Thank you.
So Marissa is in Tampa. That's on the east side of the hurricane's eye. Let's go to the west side of the hurricane's eye, Tallahassee. That's where we find NBC's Maggie Vespa. Maggie, that's the side you'd rather be on, at least right now. But what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, Joe, so basically it's tough to see, but the wind gusts have been hitting intermittently here throughout the morning. And sort of like in Tampa, the flooding is a major concern. Tornadoes a major concern. There goes the wind a little bit. Here, it's the wind gusts, it's power outages, it's down trees. Thousands of people across the area already without power. Power crews, I'll just walk a little bit so you can kind of get a landscape of what it looks like behind me. Power crews are out and about, but you can hear we have massive generator here at our hotel keeping the power on after it went out a couple of times, tripped a couple of times, like in the last 10 minutes. You might have also seen this morning Governor Ron DeSantis giving his update in the middle of his press conference. Power went out there as well. That was in Tallahassee. Keep in mind, this is a major metropolitan area, 200,000 plus people. This is a college town, Florida State University, Florida A&M. Those campuses are closed. Also the state capitol, government buildings are closed. This is not an area that's used to getting hit hard by the hurricanes that hit this state. Usually they pass by and go south of this area or go east of this area. And really, Tallahassee only kind of learned, and people here only kind of learned, that they were in the path of the storm in the last 24 hours or so. Originally, Idalia was kind of tracking a bit farther east. Suddenly, it swung west. You guys know, even we had to change our plans. We had to send crews, us and kind of our staff, a bit farther west to make sure that we were covering potentially the hardest hit parts of this state. So again, this morning, the worst part here in Tallahassee does indeed, as forecasted, appear to be the winds, wind gusts clocking upwards of 40, close to 50 miles per hour at some times. And again, we've seen power outages kind of sprinkled throughout the area. People hoping that it doesn't get much worse here in the Tallahassee area as this storm continues to move inland, guys. I'll send it back to you.
Maggie, so what did that mean? You mentioned just these last 24 hours, plans changing as the paths shift. What did that mean for preparation in this area and also also for anybody who did maybe want to get out? What are you seeing and hearing from people?
It meant that it was frantic and it was last minute, essentially. Our crew was on the ground yesterday. People here in Tallahassee for the first time filling up sandbags, trying to do it quickly, thinking what can they sandbag, what can they put a barrier in front of in the next 24 hours or so. They didn't have days warning like we saw, like Marissa was talking about being in the grocery store on Monday or even earlier, asking people what they thought of the impending storm. That wasn't happening here. It really wasn't until yesterday that people in this area, here comes another gust, started getting warnings about the fact that they could be in the path of this storm. So it was sandbags with 24 hours notice. It was evacuations for 24 hours notice. A lot of people with pets who are worried are in our hotel behind us because they couldn't bring those pets to some local shelters. So a lot of preparation and kind of a lot of worry mounting essentially at the last minute here in Tallahassee.
Right, Maggie Vespa. Maggie, stay safe. Interesting note from our climate unit. Idalia, the strongest hurricane to make landfall on the Big Bend region in 127 years, tying an unnamed hurricane back in 1896 with 125-mile-an-hour winds. You've been watching coverage from our NBC affiliates in Florida, most recently there, WFLA in Tampa. We're going to continue our coverage of Hurricane Idalia with NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas, who is in Gainesville, Florida, which is farther inland from where the storm made landfall, but we know the storm is now moving farther inland. Guad, what are you seeing right now? Set the scene for us.
75 miles east of where the storm made landfall.
And it looks like we're even having some technical issues, even though it's not as rainy or windy or stormy. They're up. I think we have Guad back. Guad, let's check back in with you one more time.
Oh, and of course, he's freezing given the weather conditions in that area and our ability to connect with him live. Let's now, though, go to Tampa. We'll get back to Gainesville and Guad if we can, but we're going to find NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra in Tampa, where she's been seeing cars stranded, people waist deep in water, as it looks like she is right now, from what I can tell under that QR code, about knee deep, maybe. Marissa, what are you seeing there right now?
I would say just above ankle deep. We're playing it safe because it is something you want to be careful with. I mean, honestly, especially the further out you go, you really want to be careful. Luckily, I'm right next to the step here, so we are playing it safe. We want to make sure we're pointing that out. And we're seeing the technical issues as well. I mean, it's tough reporting out here when you've got constant rain and wind interfering, so props to the crews that are making it all happen. So what we're seeing here, I'll point out something that I haven't talked about in the last 20 minutes since I was last on with you guys. Tampa General Hospital, we were out there this morning, and I know we've been talking about that at length, but what I didn't tell you is that we actually had to leave there ourselves, that little island that it's on, because we saw the water levels rising, and we ourselves didn't want to get trapped or stranded out there. So Tampa General Hospital is on an island. It's called Davis Islands. You can only get to it by a bridge. You know, there's not just one bridge, there's several bridges, but the point is, you know, they themselves have had to protect themselves from the storm surge. We've talked about the storm surge. The storm surge is the #1 threat to the Tampa Bay area at the moment, and that includes not just where we are. I'm going to step up over here as I'm talking about, we're talking about the peninsula as well. St. Petersburg, Clearwater, that's the peninsula that's over to the west of us. We already know there have had to be several rescues. There was one, St. Pete Fire Department had to do a rescue for mobile home park residents, and then there was a rescue that happened right here. This white car that's stranded in the middle of nowhere. Somebody got very confident thinking that they could drive through it, and then they were not able to. But that's why it's called Zone A. It's mandatory evacuation. Now, that doesn't mean everybody has evacuated. As you can see, we've seen people walking around, as you've mentioned, in waist-deep water, actually. We've seen people try to drive through this. In fact, when we were over in the island, we saw people having to back up and turn around and try to find their way out. There was really only one way out of that island, and that's how we got off. So in terms of the main concerns here, this water we've watched creep up slowly, little by little. We're expecting it to hit a peak sometime in the afternoon area around 2 o'clock. That's going to, of course, largely depend on the outer bands as they make their way here. And then finally, guys, it's not just the storm surge, it's also the tornado risk. Roughly half of the state is under tornado risk. And if you look at the map, it's pretty much all of the west coast of Florida.
And it's going to be that way for a few hours, it looks like, still.
At least until the afternoon.
All right, Marissa, thank you so much. Let's go back to NBC News national correspondent Gabe Gutierrez. He is in Perry, Florida, which is really in the heart of where we're seeing some of the worst conditions. Gabe, what can you tell us?
Hey there, Joe. Well, since I spoke with you last, actually, The wind has been swirling around here and is now picking up quite a bit. In the distance, you probably can't see it right now, but there is a downed tree. We haven't seen any down power lines exactly where I am, but that's to be expected here in Perry. Again, a town of about 7,000 people that is 20 miles inland. So we are hunkered down here at this hotel. There are some, my crew is underneath the covering here. We lost power. Some local residents have sheltered here when they evacuated their own homes, and there's also some other members of the media here as well. This is the power of Hurricane Idalia. We've seen it intensify over the last several hours. Unclear exactly how much property damage there is, but these winds have really started to pick up. We thought for a minute they might be dying down, and then they pick back up again. Things started to get a little lighter around here. Unclear if that may be because we're near the eye wall or not. I'll leave that up to the meteorologist because our cell phone service has actually started to deteriorate as well. And I'm just pausing here to just make sure that, I'll tell you what, I'm going to move in a little bit because I'm starting to hear something above me, and I don't know if a part of the roof might be getting ready to come off. So I'm going to walk a little closer to the camera here. And I'm now covered. Someone here is apparently moving their car in the parking lot. Oh, here we go. Okay. So I'm going to walk closer to the camera here. I'm about to get knocked over.
Yeah, Gabe, we want you to stay as safe as possible
really
here.
Powerful winds, guys. No, we're good. We are in, just so you know, I'm covered right now. My crew is standing right next to a concrete wall away from the direct path of the winds. We're out here trying to show you what these conditions are. And again, this is extremely powerful winds that are ripping through Perry right now. We're 20 miles inland, and if this storm made landfall at Keaton Beach, which is about 20 miles from us, you can only imagine just the powerful wind gusts that must have torn through that community. And they're also having to deal with storm surge, which could be catastrophic. Here, we're not dealing with storm surge because we're inland, but again, it's these winds when we start to assess the damage later today. We already saw a billboard right next to this hotel, as we were talking to you earlier, just be ripped apart and collapsed. And now, my goodness, it's in the new condition. And I'll say to you, I just wanted to show you what things are looking like here in the Big Bend region, one of the most powerful hurricanes ever to hit this part of Florida.
Absolutely. Gabe, if you don't mind just quickly explaining to our viewers, especially as they're seeing how powerful it is, how you are staying safe. You were mentioning earlier making sure you're certain distances away from power lines, things like that. And I do believe right now, as you said, you're near a concrete wall, somewhat under cover, although, of course, it's not providing much. But just tell us exactly what it's like, exactly where you're standing.
Okay. But what I'm seeing to my left here, I'm going to have Paul show the show here to my left and your screen right. I don't know how it translates on camera, but from my vantage point, these are some of the strongest winds we've seen. To answer your question, my journalist partner, Paul Reed, and audio tech, Jack try to pick locations that have the sturdy.
All right, so we still have Gabe's picture. We are having some audio issues right now. As someone who's covered a hurricane before, I can tell you one of the biggest challenges is trying to keep that microphone wrapped in plastic because audio equipment does not do well in wet weather. So sometimes you can have a picture, but to have some troubles with the audio, we're going to see.
And you can see our friend Paul wiping the camera off as well.
Exactly. So we're going to see if we can check back with Gabe in just a moment. Right now, we want to head out to our national correspondent, Jay Gray, who is in Gainesville, Florida. A much calmer scene there. Jay, what are you seeing right now? What is that area preparing for?
Yeah, Joe, Savannah, a very different scene right now, though the wind's starting to pick up again here than we hear with Gabe there in Perry. And like him, we're a bit inland. The University of Florida here, obviously, 50,000 students, a large faculty. That campus locked down, and they're paying attention. What we've seen throughout the morning and at times when we've talked is these waves continue to move through. Strong winds, heavy rain, and then it'll break as one of the bands moves through and the next one approaches. Well, as this storm continues to move inland, we'll see a more of a sustained attack here. We're on the right or dirty side of this storm, and so we'll get some strong winds and we'll get some rain that will continue without the breaks that we've seen. What does that mean for this area? Flooding in low-lying spots, and we're starting to see some of the water already accumulate. And then we've got a lot of trees in this part of Florida. We think of Florida and we think of the beaches and all of that. A lot of trees here. The concern is that they will be either uprooted because it's so wet and the wind is so strong, or just snapped. And of course, the power lines snapping as well. And so that's something that they're very cognizant of here and very concerned about. I don't know if you can see it behind me, but there's been some traffic here in the last few minutes. And I think that's a huge error in judgment by people here, because it is a bit calm right now. But the worst of this storm is still to come. It's got to push inland and really start to wrap around this area. And so hopefully these folks will take the advice that they've been given over the last few days and get inside and ride this thing out, because we know that we're going to see a lot more from Idalia than we've seen to this point.
Absolutely. What you're seeing, by the way, right now on the right of your screen is Perry, Florida. That is where we just had Gabe Gutierrez, who we were having those audio issues with, which is about 30 minutes north of where this storm had made landfall a little over an hour ago now in Keaton Beach. And we're speaking with Jay Gray, who is in Gainesville, where, as you could see, where he was quite a bit calmer. Again, this screen is Perry, but I'm going to be speaking with Jay, who is in Gainesville, who I think we can bring back up here in just a moment. Jay, walk us through exactly when you mentioned the fact that this is going to get worse. Right now, of course, this kind of split screen looks like a dramatic hurricane effect in one part of the state, and then your side a lot calmer, maybe just kind of a windy, slightly rainy day. But it is going to get worse, which is something important for residents there to know, as well as just viewers who are watching. Even if it looks kind of calm, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, no question about that. We're going to see much more severe effects of this storm. It's got to push inland, and we're a little further inland than Gabe and his team are right now, and so we're not seeing what they are seeing, though we will see something similar if this thing holds the way it currently is. And to speak to the intensity of this storm, I mean, you're seeing that on the opposite side of the screen. What the National Hurricane Center is saying is that this is such a strong system. It will still perhaps be a Category 2, or if not a 1, as it moves into Georgia later in the day and continues to push up and into the Carolinas. So that'll tell you a little bit about the strength of this storm. And as Gabe mentioned, not something they're used to in this part of the state. Sure, a bit to the south, they've experienced that. Ian last year was just a devastating storm to the south. But in this area of Florida, this type of storm is just something they don't deal with, and especially there along the coastline where they're seeing that wall of water move in, where the Hurricane Center has said they believe the strike point just south of Perry may end up looking more like a tornado than a hurricane because of the devastation there. And again, it's that power that is in part on the way to this area. And so while we always knew that the storm would make landfall, and it would be a bit before we saw the strength of Idalia, we know that it is now on the way. And so not a time to let down your guard, not here or anywhere else that may be not even in the cone, but near where this storm is moving.
All right, Jay Gray in Gainesville. Jay, thank you so much.
Stay safe as it continues to get worse there. All right, we will, of course, continue covering Hurricane Idalia as it ravages Florida's Gulf Coast this morning.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.